Hello there, Internet and creatures of the beyond. Um, Hope you guys are doing great and you're having a fantastic day or night. Today I was thinking of doing something a little unique. Since we have been playing games lately, it hit me. We could try to make a user interface. Well, not a complete one, but just the bare bones of, let's say, a panel with items. Because I always thought that I've been modding in the past for various games, and I always did the graphical part. And I've done a user interface once, but it was, let's just say, as an amateur at best. And as bare bones as the worst possible situation. So um we should do something. Well, first of all, let's think what a user interface needs. Usually it's just bars and panels and various stuff like buttons and mm, I don't know what they're called, like little places where you can show you your items, like the slots, yeah, and various details and models, and yeah, we shall see. We create it as we go. Obviously, I do not really recommend that you create game UIs using vector design, mainly because it is a little bit more time consuming. On the positive side, you can get much better, higher quality for if you want to make it on bigger or smaller screen. It's easier to resize the the components of the said art of the said user interface. But usually, I would stick with raster programs such as Affinity Photo, Photoshop, GIMP, Krita, and so on. You guys can choose. Um, What is a very subtle thing, though, and I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit here because technically, when you look at a background, it has a texture. And I mean, the user interface usually has on its components, bars, and so on, it has a texture. So I was thinking instead of just using a plain texture, we should make, I don't know, sort of our own unique texture. And it is a little tricky in the sense that textures require you to have specific dimensions. And if you want to kind of, I don't know, you want to, let's say, cut a little corner or a bar and elongate it as much as the screen needs to elongate, then you kind of need repeating patterns. So we're kind of focused on repeating patterns, but this is not really the best approach. As I always said, the raster design is a little bit more easier to implement than this. But we are going to create something interesting. Although this is also an approach that you can create brushes in Inkscape. Inkscape doesn't have defined brushes, so you kind of have to create them as you go. But nevertheless, we shall see. So, what do I mean by a brush? So let's say we have, I don't know, let me remove this. We have something sort of like, I don't know, something like this. Oops. And it's just whatever, a shape. But what we can do is copy it. And now if we create ourselves um, bent from clipboard and we create this shape. If I press enter now, bam, we have the shape that I have copied from here. There are other ways to do it. I think if we do it like this, it creates a little bit more, it makes it a little bit more fluid. It's the same shape, just elongate it along the path. And it all automatically creates a path effect. Of course, you can do single stretch, you can do, this is the single one, this is the repeated one, and this is just, there are various ways to do it. Personally, I I'm not gonna focus too much on how to create this right now, but we are going. Why did I focus on this? Because let's say I want a shape like this, and I want. Oops, what did I do? I want to create a pattern on this surface. So I would go something like this, and then we have a pattern. And we have various things here we can play with, like polka dots. These are the predefined ones. Personally, I am not a fan of this way of the pattern fill because one, it is extremely difficult to maneuver. I mean, you have these handlers here that can do some things, but it's the first of all, you should know that these handlers do not they don't snap except to guidelines. So you have to create additional guidelines, and then you can kind of snap the handlers, and it's doable, but and it's very limited because you can only create one pattern and apply it here, and you cannot even rename it, or at least I don't know a way to rename it. So just to give you an example, uh, let's remove this pattern. Wait, like this. Let's go back to our color. And now let's say I created a pattern, whatever. Wow. I don't know what I did there. But it's definitely weird. Okay, so we can go to object, object to pattern, and it has created this pattern here. And now if I go here, let's make this a little wide. And if I go to pattern, there it selects our last pattern, and then we can just go and kind of, oh, not here, not this one, where is it? Oh, sometimes it puts it way, way, way further than it should. So you can kind of play with size and how much you want to expand upon it and so on. It also keeps the shape that you're working on. But personally, I find it a little bit irritating because you can only go straight with it and there are no other options. And as I said, you can't rename it, or at least I don't know a way to rename it. So yeah, not a very fun thing to do. So we're just going to remove this. But what we are going to do is play a little. I'm having this in pixels. If you need to change your units, you can do it from here. There are many places you can set it up. I think you have to also set it up in preferences somewhere in the user interface. Somewhere here. I don't remember exactly. Maybe in the grid. Yeah, something. Anyway, um, these are all interchangeable. You can play. Usually it comes in millimeters or centimeters. I don't remember which one. I think it's millimeters. But since we are working with, we're working towards a raster design, pixels is most appropriate one. And let's create something like, I don't know, mm, 600 by 600. And let's make it something like this. And now let's play a little bit with the guides. I'm gonna put a middle guide here, probably one over here, one over here, one over here, one over here. And for the fun of it, let's just add an extra guide here. This is just to help us a little bit. It's not gonna do anything extraordinary. So, um, let's say we want to make a shape. So we're gonna make it in a mirror. So let's say I should I should take some references um, just so I have an idea of what I would like to work with. Mm. There are many designs you can do, but I'm just trying to find something that kind of gives me an idea of some shapes, some sizes, some just something that would look nice, just for inspiration. And of course, you can go even more complex and do more amazing designs, more intricate, more symmetrical, or non-symmetrical as well. Symmetrical ones are the most beautiful ones, in my opinion. I found one with bras and panties, but no. Let's use something a little bit more rustic. Mm. Well, I can't seem to find something very specific. But anyway, let's see what we can do. So let's say I make something like, I don't know. So uh, and let's go a little darker. And I personally do not feel it looks good. There are many approaches you can do this. You don't have to do it exactly like me. That you can always look for. You can even do it with a line and just make the thickness bigger. Whatever. There are many ways. That's my point. Uh, ha ha ha. Let's play a little bit here with this shape. Maybe create something like so. Doesn't need to be anything extraordinary. Okay, so I'm going to group this. And on this group that I'm going to work, we are going to create a mirror effect. Symmetry. Okay, it looks horrible. I know, I know. But we're gonna try to fix it. So first things first, let's kind of sort this out. Second thing, this one needs more geometry. Third thing, this one needs to be a little bit more bent. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And now this. This one we need to move a little bit lower. We need to create, in order to create the idea of continuation, you sort of need to match it up a bit. Like so. What we're going to also do here is link the styles and fuse the parts, which doesn't do anything crazy. Okay, this one needs to be a little bit more like so. Maybe even less. Or not. Maybe we need more geometry. When you're having difficulties with curves, geometry is your friend. And this one needs to look a little more, well, let's add a little bit more geometry here. A little curve here, a little curve there. A little curve everywhere. Maybe this one we could do something like so. Something like this. Not perfect. But we're getting somewhere, we're getting somewhere. Just with little patience and, if you're having difficulties, just be more patient. Do more work on it till you feel that it looks alright. Doesn't look alright, use a hammer. If the hammer doesn't work, use a bigger hammer. That always seems to do the trick. I know there are better ways to do this, but sometimes playing around and seeing what works, what doesn't, could be nice. Okay, that's nice. Okay, let's go inside. Let's add more geometry. Let's go with, I don't know, sort of a tear drop. In order to do that, just need to kind of do it like so. And let's move it inside. Now the thing is that sometimes it just doesn't show up. So you just have to enable and disable it, and there it gets fixed. Okie dokie. Maybe this one lower. Just a tiny bit smaller. I usually kind of get... Ooh, what did we do? We did something weird that he didn't like. He definitely didn't like that. I don't know why he did that. Okay. I suppose I touched a nerve. What the hell did I do wrong? Hey, what don't you like about my work? Yeah, I have zero clue what I messed up here. One way to do it is just remove this. And you have to re-edit. I don't know. He just panicked, I suppose. And he started screaming at me, and one thing led to another, and he disappeared. We shall never know. Okay. Still looks weird here. For some reason, I don't like this thing. Huh. Maybe this is better. Although I don't like how this one is set up. A little bit more. This one a little higher. And this one a little lower. You know, just fiddling around. Finding a nice equilibrium between them. Of course, it's a little bit janky on my side. Anyway, the idea is that something is happening. Okay, so let's say that we do something like so. And maybe something like, I don't know, put some circles in it. Oh. And can also do something a little bit like so. Doesn't need to be perfect, so don't bother too much. Or maybe it does need to be perfect, I don't know. I'm gonna cut this part. And now I'm just gonna put it inside here. Let's see. Perfection. What else? Let's create some bottom things here. Um, I don't know, something like this. And maybe something like so. Unfortunately, this one didn't go as expected. Oh, disable the link and whatever. Um, I don't like this. So let's recreate it like so. And then move it so. Just a second, I need to reply a message. Okay. It looks a little bit like a face. But whatever. We are we are making just prototypes here. It doesn't need to be something extraordinary, interesting. Well, maybe let's try to kind of do little shapes here and there. Okay, let's move the whole group down a little. Group. Hey, the whole group. Whatever, let's say something like so. Let's enlarge it. So this isn't looking like anything right now. It's not a very beautiful design, I must agree. Maybe I can push this a bit more for volume. Batman symbol. And whatever this one. It's definitely unbalanced and there is like a lot too much negativity happening here. And the positivity is all over the place, but whatever. So what we want to do is let me duplicate this, put it to the side. because we might want to use it later. And with this group, run grouping everything. Oh, sorry. We are going to create a single path. So now everything is in a single path here. Is it? Oh, damn it. Sorry about that. I used it on the wrong group. So again, let's make it on this group and group it. Bam, 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 bam. Okay. So we have this thing with this thing. So if we duplicate this and I take it and put it something like so, and now we remove these backgrounds, we have a problem. Which I did not consider. Yeah, let's remove these things. Whatever. And now if I duplicate this again, and now we remove the backgrounds, we have something like this. But what interests us is this. Oops. We need to create a shape that's sort of like this. And we want to take this and this, create them in one element, and we're going to combine it. And there we go. Now, what did this do, actually? Well, this is why I don't like working with patterns. Because in this particular case, well, this is pretty big, but we can make it smaller. But in this particular case, if I want to go and now I want to add a path effect, and we're looking for, what's the name, tiling. Ta-da! But yeah, obviously not very intuitive. Why did I make it like this? What the important thing is not to make it like this, but to make it something like this. Or we could even go something like this. But again, not very useful. And you would say, well, look, this is not matching up with this. Yeah, but there is an option. We have to do 100% and voila, now it's matching. Now, obviously, these are too few elements to create a background. We only have one centerpiece. So in order to do that, let's do 10 here, 10 here, and voila. See how easy it is to create a background. So now we have something that really looks nice. Now the advantage of this is that everything connects to this. So if I start to change colors or whatever, it's going to affect only this element. So let's say we want, and obviously you can play with a lot of things here, but let's say we want to create a background. And since we know that this one is 300 by 300, let's say 1500 by 1000 by 4000. No, by 2000. Well, maybe lower. No, let's try 2,600. No. Hmm. Let's try 3,000. Okay, so we need to boom more by 4,000. So we go here. Let's go increase this to go lower, even more. And this one to just push it outside. Perfect. So now we could say the background, it could be sort of dark like this. Let me just make it full. Put it on the back. Um, sorry, not here. Oh, come on. Like so. And we take this and I don't know. Let's make it a little bit like so. Perfect. Now we have our background. Well, of course, we can play with the sizing and whatever and create it even smaller or larger for this. It's practically a lot of possibilities from here. But let's say that I'm gonna duplicate everything, take it a little bit lower if it's going to cooperate with me. No? Did I kill it? Why don't you want to move? Not responding! He hates me. Come on. Well, whatever. It worked. I suppose it's because I had snapping. When you have snapping, it goes all weird. So let's say I made a duplicate just so we can play a little bit with the things here. Let's say I'm gonna create full opacity. I'm gonna go a little blurry. Let's go like with a 6. Yeah. And let's duplicate this. I'm gonna create it as a clipping mask. Set clip. Voila. And we have our background. Of course, you can do so many more things. Let's reduce the opacity a bit. Oh, everybody's calling. Just a second, need to reply fast to a message. And now since we have it a little bit blurry, maybe we can go even less opacity. Maybe even less. Something like so. It needs, because this one needs to be all the way in the back. And of course, I would suggest using a texture because it makes much more sense to kind of play with textures and create mirrors with them and so on. We can even we can even create a texture in as a vector design, but for bitmap tracing. But I think it would create way too many lines. This is just as an experimental idea. And this is gonna be our panel here. Um, and based on this panel, we're going to start working to include more elements, sides, corners, and probably we're gonna create more patterns or something like that to kind of give it, or we don't know, we could use also some textures, but the idea is that we created something interesting. That's the main idea. I'm gonna probably leave it at this because I have to take some personal calls for to save the world, you know. Somebody needs to save the world. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. I know we haven't done too much here, but it's a start towards creating something more refined. And maybe a few more ideas will come along the line when I implement them next time. Stay awesome, and bye 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 bye.